Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Laster.
and this is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and get new merch. Look at this Screen Bloody Movie t-shirts with the logo designed by our very own Lydia Judy. Wonderful.
Sweetest shirt I've seen in a long time.
It's a nice one, right? We also have these mugs as well.
I would be sitting out of mine, but it got broke somehow.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. You had a terrible delivery service, it sounds like. Terrible
not
delivery
get a
service.
tip. I can tell you that.
Lydia, tell them where they can get our mugs.
You can find mugs and t-shirts and maybe some other cool items on society6.com/Night Sky Crafts. Night Sky Crafts.
I'll put the description right here. And also in the description we'll have it. So the link will be right there on the screen and in the description. So you can get yourself some Screen Bloody Movie merch, support local artists, namely Lydia. So,
and
how are you guys
if you
doing?
Tune in each week, you get to see two of our ugly mugs and Lydia. Out there.
This is a lovely mug, I might add. I'm the only one with a functional one. Your guys' are broken.
I have one. It's just downstairs. I got iced coffee today, so I was like, I need a big girl cup.
Yep,
I
understand.
It's my jam.
So how are you guys doing this fine evening?
Doing great.
Pretty crappy, but I'm here.
I'm feeling the holiday spirit.
Are you? I am too.
Getting close.
I'm feeling the holiday spirit too. The holiday though is not Christmas. It's like Labor Day or something. Flag Day. I'm feeling Flag Day. It's a holiday I'm feeling.
Flag Day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
A day that is there, but you don't get off work. So,
yeah.
So guys, we have not a lot of horror news today, so we'll start with it. So let's get into the horror news. The first bit I have is not really horror news per se. It's more horror adjacent. It's actually about the new Batman movie. But Matt Reeves described the new Batmobile in the Batman movie as being inspired by John Carpenter's Christine.
Oh.
So he says, Stephen King's Christine, but I'm thinking in particular probably the John Carpenter movie adaptation of it. Said the Batmobile has to make an appearance out of the shadows to intimidate. So I thought almost like Stephen King's Christine. Nice. I like the idea of a car itself as a horror figure, making an animalistic appearance to really scare the hell out of people Batman's pursuing. There's absolutely a horror genre aspect to this movie. What do you guys think of that? And does that make you want to see the Batman even more?
Yes.
I was on board with this movie as soon as I saw the first trailer.
Well, yeah.
Makes me more than on board.
How crazy is it that we're now at a time where, directors of films like Batman and such are referencing the stuff that we represent in these horror movies. It's
yes, that's awesome.
It's just the way now.
Well, I feel like it's a kind of a changing of the guard. But what I mean by that are the corporate police that run these ridiculous studios, and they strip these artists, the directors, of their creativity. So I'm glad to see that they're letting some of that out.
Yeah, well, especially since now those people that grew up with the movies like we did are now the filmmakers. So those fans of those classic films of the 80s in the especially the Carpenter movies of the 80s are now mainstream because they in hindsight they can look at these movies and say, oh, like The Thing, like we reviewed last 2 weeks ago. It's like at the time when it came out, it was critically like derided. And it's funny to look back and say, read those reviews and say, wow, you guys were literally dead wrong on this.
Yeah.
This movie is a fucking masterpiece. You have no idea what you're talking about.
It's kind of like when somebody labeled this movie they're going to review tonight the horror classic.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
oh, there's the first one. There's the first shot above the bow. We have some stuff to talk about with this movie. Apparently, these guys have some stuff to talk about. So, next on the list, guys, remember the show Wednesday? We talked about the Netflix Addams Family, Tim Burton produced Addams Family deal, right? Well, it's been announced that Danny Elfman will compose the theme for Tim Burton's Addams Family Netflix.
Good.
How does that make you feel?
I love Danny Elfman.
Danny's one of the best.
I got to watch his masterclass, and I just want to shout out to that because that was pretty cool. Really enjoyed it.
Danny Elfman is one of the best, for sure, especially in this genre, but in all genres. I mean, Elfman's Batman score is one of the all-time best superhero scores of all time, and his score for Beetlejuice. And my other personal favorite Elfman score is the score for Spider-Man. Is great. It's a great. I watched all three of those over the week after we saw Homecoming, which, by the way, is not horror related, but it's fucking awesome. So you should totally watch it.
Hey, here's one for you.
Yeah,
I give that movie a 10.
Oh, do you?
I do. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. No Way Home. 10 for me too. All right. You guys, the Munsters are back.
Oh.
I found us some Munsters news.
Canceled.
No, it's not canceled, Derek. This movie's full.
Could you imagine?
The movie's full speed ahead, man. It has some Munsters furniture, and here's a piece of furniture that Rob Zombie shared. You ready for this?
This is so silly at this point.
Hey, we have to. Now we're in the trenches of the Munsters, so we have to see it. You guys ready to see this piece of furniture?
Yes, let's see it. Let's see the furniture. Right. First it was construction, then it was the house, and then it was some makeup.
Huh? Look at that.
I don't see anything.
What? You don't see anything?
No. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, see it?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Looks like a chair.
It's definitely an electric chair, I guess, of some sort.
Like, come on. They're really milking this stuff, aren't they?
They are. They are milking
There's nothing, like, completely special about that electric chair.
No, actually, as a matter of fact, if I can find pictures of it, I'll drop it in this episode. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, my dad and company built an electric chair for their band as a prop. They came out on stage. The lead singer would get electrocuted before they started. Yeah, the 80s.
Amazing.
That sounds electrifying.
Oh wow,
that was terrible. Anyway, move on.
I actually remember them. I remember them building it. I remember seeing it. It used to sit in my grandpa's and grandma's garage for the longest time, and I was always like fascinated by it. I always thought of Wes Craven's Shocker.
I wonder if that thing is still somewhere.
I think it's gone into the ages now, but
yeah.
Guys, this is big news. I saved like I said, there wasn't much horror news, but I saved the best for last. So we all know that Bruce Campbell is done playing Ash. He said he physically can't do it anymore, right?
Yep.
No more Ash. But Bruce Campbell did say he would totally be on board to voice Ash in an animated series.
Oh.
Oh.
So what would you guys, in future video games as well, because he's doing the games, how would you guys feel about there being an animated Evil Dead starring Bruce Campbell as Ash? Would you guys be on board with that?
I think
Yes.
it depends.
I'm with Derek, just yes.
Well, of course I'm down. I'm so picky about animation, though. It's like, if it looks a certain way, I won't like it. But maybe it'll grow on me. Sometimes it grows on me. Sometimes I don't like an animation, and then I'm like, it's a pretty good show.
Sometimes you watch the animated Addams Family movie and you just love the hell out of it, right, Lydia?
Yeah.
You know what I would do if I were
With its gorgeous art.
I hate the art in that.
What would you do, Derek?
I would do a limited series for adults on like HBO, and see what kind of audience we get.
Yeah, do it like Spawn. Remember Spawn?
Yeah.
Except not dark. I mean, it's Evil Dead with Ash, so it has to be fun and goofy and scary. It has to have the Evil Dead 2 vibe. But yeah, Spawn was great. Spawn was a great series. I liked that show. Much better than the Michael Jai White 90s film.
I liked that one. It was okay.
You're a big Leguizamo fan, though. I can see why.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, let's get into the main event. This is our Christmas episode. I'm sorry we forgot to put on Christmas stuff, but you know what? We didn't really feel like the holiday spirit. Derek and Lydia didn't after watching this movie, so let's start every week like we do, talking about our experiences with this movie and our history with it. Let's start with you, Lydia. Is this your first time watching Black Christmas?
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I don't know how this. I do remember when I was younger, I kind of struggled with horror and Christmas combining. Besides, Gremlins, where it's kind of, on the back burner that it's in the Christmas time. It's not really like Santa, anything that's to do with Santa, which this one really wasn't either. Like specifically about like Santa or anything.
No.
But for some reason, when I was younger, that really like scared me to think that it might ruin like a really great holiday for me. So I always it was like on the shelf, like it was available. I just never watched it. And now I can see why I never watched it, because
wow. Derek, have you ever seen this movie before?
So I searched the memory bank, man, and I could not remember seeing any part of this movie whatsoever. That's probably a good thing. Would have vetoed it whenever you were like, let's watch this for our Christmas section. I said no.
Okay. So I've watched Black Christmas for a while. I mean, I've seen this when I was younger, when I was going through my specifically when I started going through my like I told you guys, my film class that I made for myself, where I started watching all the classic slashers and classic horror movies and just classic movies in general. I talked to Jacob about this, my brother Jacob. You know who he is. But
I know him well.
Lydia knows him well. But we were talking about this weekend, and once I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker, I started watching quintessential classics from specifically the 70s and 80s. And so like I would watch like The French Connection and Chinatown and the Godfathers and those kind of movies for that. And then I started getting deep into genre. And so I knew I wanted to be a horror filmmaker. So I was like, yeah, those are great movies, but They're not helping me with what I want to do. So I started watching the classics. Of course, Halloween. I was always there, but then I started getting into like Prom Night and Don't Go Into the House and Maniac and all the slashers. And Black Christmas was one of the first, so I watched it then. It had some thoughts on it. I thought it was fine. Then I watched it uh, throughout the years. I watched it just last year, I think, on Shudder, um, around Christmas time because I was in the mood for a slasher movie. And if you're in the mood for like a slasher movie, isn't the movie for you really? Not for the slashers that you're wanting. Like if you're wanting a Friday the 13th slasher, just put in one of those bad boys. They'll quench your thirst for that kind of mayhem. Um, so yeah, I've had a history with this movie. This time, this was a viewing where I've watched it critically. So I guess we have some thoughts on it. Let's just kind of get into it. So the movie starts um, with a really nice push in on the house. Like it's a really nice shot. We see the house, which is a really visually interesting sorority house. Like it's big, gothic almost. And we push in on it. And then we realize we're kind of seeing from the POV of somebody. And we're watching outside the windows. And the man, we're assuming it's a man. We later find out it is. But he starts to climb the trellis on the side of the house. So what did you guys think of this opening shot and this opening scene here? Do you think it was a good mood setter?
Yeah, I think it sets the mood pretty strong with, I mean, it's like you said, it's so strange. It was strange for me, I should say, to watch it because knowing that this was like one of the first kind
Mm-hmm.
of slashers that came out,
4 years before
it
Halloween, yeah.
yeah, it's like very much like that opening is very much like Halloween, where
Mm-hmm.
you have like a point of view of someone coming up to your house and looking in, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes you uneasy. You're like, I don't want someone looking in on me. I think now we're kind of, I'm personally, I should say, I keep like generalizing, but uh I'm almost like numb to that, where I'm like, that's not scary to me anymore because I've seen it so much.
Yeah.
But I imagine like watching that back then was probably specifically terrifying to know there's someone lurking and to having bad intentions.
Yeah, it's similar to Halloween, just way less polished and
Yes.
way less visually interesting.
Yes.
Um, but I like the idea of the push in because it starts off as a dolly, basically a dolly push in, and then we slowly morph to it. We see the figure on the side, and it's not well defined, but you realize that there's a figure that is in frame on frame left, and then that's when we go to the POV of him climbing up. What do you think, Derek?
I liked the opening actually. I thought it was aesthetically it was great. I would live in that house in a heartbeat. It was a nice house, but big sorority house. The outside looking in, kind of like a predator lurking in the shadows. So I liked the opening actually. It was a strong part to the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the coolest parts of the movie actually. Um, and it starts it off strong. Then we get introduced to a bunch of the characters. Now, this part of the movie, the opening is way messy and crazy, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's chaotic as fuck. Like, there's just a lot going on. So we're introduced to our characters. We're introduced to Barbara, played by Margot Kidder, who is the drunk and the smart ass of the group. We have Phyllis, who's like kind of like the level headed of the group. Then we have our main character Jessica, played by Olivia Hussey, and they receive. So we kind of get like some dynamics between these characters, right? And we find out their dynamics. We find out that the youngest student, Claire, is leaving. She's supposed to meet her dad, so she's packing up to leave, and she gets into they get one of the phone calls again, and apparently this has been happening for a while. They've been getting these harassing phone calls, and on this phone call, it's a guy that calls himself Billy, and he's just saying lewd, rude stuff.
Dude,
so
some of the
good.
It was like listening to an erotic video.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow. This is the 70s. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But
yeah, you're right. And so the phone call is pretty shocking. I mean, it does its job, I feel like. What do you guys think of the phone call? Since you broached it, Derek, what do you think, Lydia?
Yeah, it's a little much, which I think it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And their reactions to it are all different. Like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep the character names straight in this one, but Margot Kidder is like, she's just like, oh, I get 1,000 of these calls a day.
Yeah.
She just like is like taunting him kind of and like telling him, mean things, and everybody else is kind of like, I don't know if you should be doing that. Which
yeah,
would be
she
me,
just
probably.
Yeah, she just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And she's she says she's got the fastest tongue in the West.
Yeah. It's like it's all a lot for the
So this character dynamic, this moment sets up. We find out that her and Claire don't get along at all because Claire is like the uber Christian of the group. Essentially, she's prudish, and she doesn't agree with. Basically, she said somebody was raped, and Margot Kidder's character says townies can't be raped. Just like a horribly mean joke, and she's just like, so nonchalant about anything. She doesn't take anything seriously and just doesn't care about it. Whereas this girl takes all of it seriously. So she gets mad and storms upstairs to go to go pack her clothes. Well, when she goes up there, we get our first kill of the movie. We get a scene where she's walking. She thinks the cat's up there. She's walking into the closet, and she's attacked in the closet, and she's suffocated with the dry cleaning bag. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think of this first kill?
Well, first of all, this cat, I don't know how many times they say this cat's name in this movie.
Fucking Claude, guys.
Claude the cat. I was walking around the house earlier just yelling, Claude! Claude! Like, me and Jake were both just yelling, Claude.
You know what? It's funny. Joey walks around yelling, Jean-Claude! Jean-Claude! Joey loves Jean-Claude Van Damme. So
Claude.
So what'd you think of this scene in the kill itself?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you just started talking about Claude, and that was it.
I just couldn't get past how many times they actually said that cat's name.
Damn French cat!
Yeah. The kill was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm curious to what you guys think about it, because it's kind of, yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know. I guess it's not. I mean, I don't know. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss of words on this one. Go ahead, guys.
Derek.
So I thought this kill was pretty good. It had some suspense to it, and some surprise. And like when she walks like because she goes into the closet, I think, once
Mm-hmm.
and back out, and you see the bag kind of moving where he's breathing, and then when she goes back in to look for the cat is when he attacks her. So the first part of this movie up to this point, you're misled. You think you're going to watch a good movie because I do think although it is chaotic for sure, it does have a good, decently strong opening.
Yeah, what's good, I think it's well paced. It has a pretty fast pace, and that's kind of what happens is it slows way down after that. I really like this first kill. I like the suspense of it, the suspense building. I love the shot that you were talking about where you could see him breathing behind the bag. And I love the way that it's actually shot because it's just he attacks her with the bag. You just see the bag go over her face, basically, and we kind of cut away. And then later you see her with it wrapped completely around her head. And she's like rocking in that chair, which is a great image. Great image. So I really like this whole scene here.
Dude, the boyfriend in this scene, and he comes back later. They're talking about like the kids that they're gonna like entertain later. And man, he's a piece of work. It's hilarious. When we get to the Santa scene, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So also at this time, we find out that Jessica's, has a boyfriend, and his name is Peter, and there's some weird stuff going on between them. We're not sure what that is yet. And then, so that kill happens. Then basically we cut to the next day. They get another obscene phone call, essentially. And then we cut to the next day, and Claire's dad arrives in the town, and he's looking for her. And he talks to this fucking weirdo on campus.
Dude, he gets drilled by that snowball in the face.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Smashed. And then the dude's like, "I'm sorry about that." And he like starts talking to him. And this guy's like, "Oh yeah, Claire. Yeah, I know who she is. Oh yeah, I know what that sorority house is. It's actually right down here. I'll tell you how to get there." You're just like, what the fuck? So the dad comes in and finds out that none of the girls have seen Claire. They thought that she had left already. He hasn't found her. They haven't found her. So they go to the police station essentially to try to report her missing. And after they can't find her, because before that he goes in and meets with the house mother, right? So there's this whole scene with the house mother. The house mother, Mrs. Mack is her name. She's a stone cold alcoholic. She has booze hidden everywhere throughout the house. Her dad goes up to her room and realizes, and it's like this, kind of party room because the whole place is. He doesn't approve of it. So in the middle of this scene, there's like this poster on the wall where there's like, it's like a peace sign, but it's these people screwing. And so she like covers it up with her hand as she's talking to him. It was played for laughs, trying to like cover up the butthole of these people. What do you guys think of this section of the movie?
I thought that was really funny. I do like the comedic beats in this. I think they were like pretty ahead of its time. I feel like, like it actually was some pretty funny stuff.
There's some typical Bob Clark humor in this. Like I mentioned at the top of the episode, Bob Clark went on to direct Porky's after this movie in 1980, and then directed A Christmas Story later in that decade. So he's known mostly for his comedies. Unfortunately, he also directed Baby Geniuses. So
oh my gosh.
They all can't be winners, folks. Unless you're Steven Spielberg or John Carpenter. But
wait, I got a thing about this house mother.
Yeah.
the fact that she like hides the booze in the book, and then I think she hides booze in the back of the toilet.
Back of the
I
toilet.
think,
Yep.
right? So you're right. There's some really good jokes, and that peace sign is a good one.
There's
And
also
when we get to the police station, that's the
it
best one. But
cuts before that, like when we cut into that room, we're cut to just like there's dialogue, and we just see these shots of this old woman in a rocking chair, and then it gets to the end, the old woman's just flipping the bird.
I know that part was actually really funny. But here's my point to this: like, casting is everything in a movie, right? And I think that the way that the scene was set up was actually pretty good. I think the jokes could have been paid off pretty well. But man, she was a terrible actress. She did not do a great job. So, if they would have had like a stronger actress play that role, like man, just
I didn't
imagine
think
what it
she
could
was.
have been.
I didn't think she was bad. Did you think she was bad, Lydia?
I didn't think she was bad, but
I think she
I
overacted a little bit.
her
Yeah, she was a little
character-
big. She's a little
But her
big.
character was supposed to be kind of like a
Big.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when she's asking for Claude and she spills her purse, because there's a suspense scene here where she's upstairs and she's hollering for Claude, and you know that Billy is upstairs in the attic because that's where he's staying. That's where we see Claire with the bag over her face rocking in the chair. And so we know he's up there, and they kind of play it like it's a suspense scene. And then she starts just cursing, and she starts calling the cat like a cocksucker or something like that. And then right as she says it, the dad pops up right here, right by her face. And she's like, I'm really, really happy that you can give me a ride. You can give me a ride.
Oh yeah, and then
Super
he's
nice
like,
of
yeah,
you.
never mention it.
Yeah, he goes back
He's real
downstairs
stoked about it.
and she flips him off. So yeah, around this time also, Jessica goes to visit her boyfriend Peter, who's a pianist. And he's staying in the conservatory, right? And she drops the bomb on him that she's pregnant. And that she wants an abortion because she didn't mean to get pregnant. And Peter does not like this. And he says, well, we need to... First he says, you can't do it. And then she says, well, you can't tell me what I need to do. And he says, well, we need to talk about this. So let's meet tonight. Are you available to meet? And she said, yeah, sure. So we have that setup of this tension between these two characters at this point. They go to the police station to report her missing. Claire missing because they can't find her. And the desk jockey, the desk cop, basically blows him off, turns him away, says there's nothing he can do. And this cop is inept, right? This desk sergeant is inept. And he's played by the actor, what's his name? Let me get his name. Hang on.
While you're looking that up, he is also challenged by big words that mean...
Yes. It's he plays Sergeant Nash is his character's name.
Yeah.
He is played by Douglas McGrath, who also plays the gym teacher in Porky's, Bob Clark's Porky's. He's the one that tells the younger gym teacher the legend of Lassie. He also is the one that's laughing when Miss Ballpricker is describing the phallus that stuck through the girls' locker room. If you haven't seen Porky's, it's a good one. So yeah, talk about this scene, Derek. What you liked about the police scene? You were going into it.
Yeah, Margot Kidder is giving him a phone number, and she starts off with fellatio, and what she says it's like a new area code or new connection.
Yeah, Effie. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "How do you spell that?" So she spells it out for him, and then it's a gag for like the rest of the movie, and he eventually like learns what it means because the like one detective is just laughing at him because he's an idiot.
Yeah. So she writes down this thing. So Jessica goes and sees Claire's boyfriend, who's a big hockey player, and tells her that he's missing or that she's missing. So he goes to the police station, and he's like, basically, you're a fucking idiot to Nash. That's when we meet the Lieutenant Fuller, played by the great John Saxon. Mm-hmm. Guys, how happy were you to see John Saxon?
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was too.
It's great to see him.
It's been one of his early movies.
Well, I mean, he's been acting since the 50s, so it was like in the 20-year mark for him.
Okay, that's fair. But still, he must have been desperate.
Well, here's what's crazy, is 10 years after this movie, he makes A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Exactly, 10 years. 84 was Nightmare on Elm Street. And which made him a horror icon, because that movie slaps, and we'll get into it eventually. So yeah, he goes, and that's when the police actually get on the case. He says, Nash, hand me the file. He's like, what's going on here? Hand me the file. So he starts looking into it, because we find out that there's also a missing teen. A teen has been missing, and the mother is there looking for her child as well. So the police set up like a search party, essentially, to hunt for Claire, but hopefully find this other woman as well. So both parents are there, and it's super like 70s. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Jaws or something, like when they're getting to catch the shark, except without all the excellence of that. But like that whole, well, let's or American Werewolf, let's get the posse together to hunt down. So they're looking for him, and they end up finding the body of the dead girl, which we don't see, but we know that there's a dead girl now. Meanwhile, the phone calls are still happening at the house. And around this time, we get to your other favorite scene, Derek. Let's talk about the Santa. Let's talk about the Santa scene real fast. Let's get into that. So they're hosting Santa Claus, and we get I don't know the character's name, but he has a giant afro.
Yeah.
And glasses. And he's Santa Claus, and he's a little foul-mouthed, isn't he, Derek?
Oh my gosh, man. Like, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I forget his dialogue, and maybe we'll add a couple lines in here, but
Ho, 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 shit.
Santa, please.
Look, she's supposed to be going away with me for the weekend, goddammit.
Well, we decided that we would go skiing for a few days,
Yeah, and I've been looking forward to this for 3 weeks. Bitch.
Isn't Santa naughty?
Oh, ho, ho, fuck.
it's just like so ridiculous. You're just like, man, there is absolutely no way a parent would allow their kids to like hang out with these folks. And I think at one point, Margot Kidder is giving one of the kids alcohol.
100% does.
Yeah, and the dad who's there to like pick up his daughter, the one that's missing, he's looking over there like, what the heck's going on here?
But it's the 70s, and it was like totally fine to do all of this.
No, Lydia, you don't understand. Like, my grandma used to have a beer mug, right? And she would crack open a beer and she would pour it in there, and it never quite fit. There was always a little bit left. So what'd she do? She hands it to us kids. Like, I remember being like 6-year-old and like drinking my grandma's beer because there was like a little bit left over.
She's old-fashioned like that.
Oh my God, man. I told my wife about that, and she's just like, what?
Hey, that was the way back then. You're right. If you look back at pictures, it's really funny. If you look back at pictures of like especially us, Derek, in the 80s, you'll see like like kids standing around. There's like 4 adults smoking cigarettes, and there's ashtrays laying around.
Yeah.
It's like beer cans. It's like so wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, like child services would be called immediately.
Yeah, then they're like, he's fine. I mean, remember,
Yeah.
like, when you used to ride in the back of a truck, a pickup truck?
Yeah.
You just,
Definitely
I
do.
want to sit in the back. Yeah,
Oh yeah, we definitely did that.
yeah, yeah. My stepdad had this crappy truck that I don't think had seat belts. I could be wrong. It might have had them, but it did. But they were only lap belts. So
Was
it had
it an
lap
S10?
belts. I think so. Yeah.
I just had a meme. My dad and my stepdad had an S10, and I just saw like a meme on Facebook that was like, kids today complain about not having Wi-Fi, but they don't know about these
No.
having to ride in these seats on a trip.
Yeah, because it just had lap belts. It was like a
It's like
bench.
the tiniest
Yeah, it was a bench
seat
seat.
that like folded out
Oh,
of the
those
wall.
ones. Yeah, yeah. His was just a bench seat, clear across. Just
Well,
one bench seat.
That's lucky if you had a bench seat.
Yeah.
I didn't even have. I had just had a little square stool.
With a bench seat with only 2. I think it only had 2 seat belts. So my brother and I had to share a seat belt. And then this car used to burn oil, so it would smoke, and my stepdad would always like act like he hits a button and says, "Oh, I'm putting on the smoke screen,"
Oh my gosh.
but it was really just a shit ass car that was burning oil.
Okay, since we're on this tangent, I got to tell you this. So my mom and I left my grandparents' house one day, right? We get like maybe a quarter mile down the road, man. And my mom's front tire fell off of her car. And we come grinding to a halt, and you just see this tire rolling off into the field. Anyway,
Tell him about the time your
childhood things.
Tell him about the time your engine caught fire, Derek.
because my brother like modified it. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Where the car caught fire when your mom and Joyce.
Oh, when I was a little
Derek?
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom and my aunt and my brother and I were, I don't know where we were going. I was little, but like my mom tells the story. So we're driving down the road and her engine caught on fire. And so like she's trying to pull over and she pulls over and looks back in the back seat. And like my aunt had thrown my brother out the window. This moving car. It was about to chuck me out the window. And my mom's like, "Where's Jay?" And she's like, "I threw him out the window. The car was on fire."
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Forgot about that.
She also gave you good baby advice too, right, Derek?
Yeah. You want me to tell you that one?
Yeah, tell that one too.
All right, Lydia. If you ever have kids and they keep you up at night, they might have their days and nights mixed up. So you put them in a pillowcase and you flip them upside down. Do not do that. My aunt told me that, and I'm just like, you are never babysitting my children. One more since we're on this, because this is hilarious, man. My brother made a pair of nunchucks like out of a rope and like these 2 really thick pieces of like dowel rods, right? And he's like chucking in the living room, man. And my cousin walks through and he nails her right in the head. Like a huge goose egg. Well, my same aunt, freaks out and instead of 1, using the telephone, or 2, grabbing the child and doing this, takes off running out of our house up to the hospital.
I just
this
keep
is
seeing the image in my head.
Defeats the purpose.
What
Like
was her
where they
plan when she
now
got
we're
there?
like, where did this go?
What was her
I feel
plan?
like
Just
this is for the
To go
Patreon
get help,
right here.
dude.
yeah.
To go get.
Hey, something happened at my house. You should follow me back.
Dude, you didn't even drive there, man. She took off running. We did have a working phone, just to clarify. She's not exactly good in a crisis situation.
Well, between throwing people out windows and running to the hospital, I wouldn't say so.
Wow.
Oh, that's some quality good stuff right there.
Oh my gosh, give me a second.
I know. I almost quit breathing there for a second. My face was super red. I felt like we were in that scene from Porky's. Woo!
My wife tells me all the time, she's like, I don't know how you made it.
No, I don't either. But it does explain a lot about Jay.
Totally. It totally does. Totally
I mean,
does.
he's been thrown out of cars and flipped upside down in a pillowcase.
It totally does.
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Oh, you're killing me, Derek. Anyway, back to Black Christmas. This was the best tangent we've had so far. Black Christmas. So, yeah, Santa Claus, funny stuff. They're drinking. What happens next in this movie, Lydia?
I don't remember,
Do you remember
what we're
either?
even talking about now.
I know. I got to get back on track. Sorry. I tried to pass the buck off to somebody else, but it's
Nice
my
try.
responsibility. So, after they get back, the house mother goes looking for Claude again, right? After they find the girl and they're explaining to everybody, hey, this is a real case. Did you not think that these two might be connected? Now it's a real thing. So the next day, after all that, the house mother is looking for Claude and goes upstairs like she does, and she hears something in the attic. So she goes up to the attic and she is hit in the head with a hook. Is what happened. What do you guys think of this kill in this scene?
Oh man, this one makes a whole lot of sense. Like, how does that? What happens in this scene? Like, this hook, like,
I guess they have a
swings
pulley
over.
system up there.
it's like a
I don't-
small. It's not that big of a hook. It's just like a pulley, and it just hooks into her somehow and like lifts her, and like there's like the physics
feet
are
dangle.
just off to me. But besides that, it's not that bad. It's like it's a decent scene. I've seen worse.
He said, besides the fact that it doesn't make any sense whatsoever and it's terrible, it's great.
It's perfect.
Derek,
it's great.
What are your thoughts on this scene?
Because I don't think that she gets killed until she sees a dead body.
She sees
And
the
then-
dead body. Yeah, she sees her with the thing over her face, rocking in
Yeah.
the chair.
It could be a clever kill. I mean, him like taking a hook and throwing it down. But to Lydia's point, like it's not a very big hook. Like I don't think that they really go into great detail of. Go ahead.
It would have been better if she would have went up. He was hiding behind her. She sees the thing and he drops it down, wraps it around her neck, and pulls her up. And
That would have made way more sense.
plus, you could have the whole her legs, her feet kicking kind of shot. I'm not Bob Clark, so I mean he does what he wants to do with his movie. But
Well, and it's
Yeah.
like, I'm just trying to keep in mind that this is probably the first time people were seeing this kind of stuff. Maybe,
yeah,
like, I don't
Kind of.
know.
ish.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't know the history as well as I should, I guess, but like there's, a lot of people put a lot on this movie. So I'm
Mhm.
trying to look at it that way, like where it's like this is like the beginning of an entire genre, you know.
It definitely starts some tropes of the genre for sure. And this kill, look, I mean, I'm not expecting a Friday the 13th kill, some kind of gonzo, fun gore fest. Um, and I like the other kill a lot. This one is just goofy to me because it's just the hook. So I get kind of what they were going for, but it's just like you said, the physics are wonky, and it's kind of like, eh, you could have done better. It's
Mhm.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. The suspense building of it was great. I think the suspense building of it's good. Get there, and I like that she sees the dead. She sees Claire dead in the chair right before she gets it. Like, so she knows something's going on, and then she gets a hook in, to her head, which causes a minor bump on her head.
So do you think that this feels like they might have had a different kill in mind, and then they
Maybe.
maybe spontaneously was like, let's try this?
Maybe. I
Because it,
mean, I
it
don't.
it didn't seem as well thought out as it could have been, but
Definitely not as well thought out as the most famous kill, which we'll get to in a little bit, which is the best kill, still one of the best kills of the genre. But yeah, I just think this is one of the weaker ones. I mean, sometimes you have, you have the your shittier ones. You have the guy just stuck onto a wall with a pitchfork. You walk around the corner and he's there, and you're like, really wish I would have seen that. What are you
mhm.
doing, movie? But even the
It's
best ones have it.
almost I can't help but feel like this is more of a true crime movie that
Suspense, who
wasn't
done
done
it?
well.
Yeah, it's like a who done it.
Like,
Suspenseful who done it is what it's supposed to be.
yeah, yeah. But then you just
Claire or Barb gets real drunk and she starts like saying some just like real fucked up shit.
she is old. That's her the
Mm,
entire movie.
yeah.
She never stops. Every scene that she's in, she's
Mm,
saying something sexual and crazy and she's drunk and it's like, okay.
yeah. So this one she goes too far, and because the dad uh is still sitting there, he's missing his daughter. They still don't know where she is, and she's saying some fucked up shit, and he's kind of just I'm sure going through it and feeling it. And so Phyllis sends her upstairs, says, "You need to go upstairs. You're drunk." And so she goes upstairs to bed. And we might as well, since we're talking about Barb, might as well just get to her kill right now, um, which is the best kill of the movie. So she's laying in bed. Billy comes down from which that's what we're calling the killer, Billy, because throughout the movie he's saying, this is Billy, and he's talking about Agnes, and we have no idea what the hell he's talking about, but this is like kind of what we're dealing with. So he goes downstairs and sneaks into her room, and as he sneaks in, she wakes up and starts screaming. Jessica hears this, goes upstairs to check on her, and finds her reaching for her. She's having an asthma attack, so she reaches for her inhaler. Gives her inhaler. She takes it. She says she had a dream that a strange man was coming into her room. And she's like, "Well, that wouldn't be a nightmare, would it?" So Jessica leaves again. So he comes in and she has this glass unicorn figurine with a huge horn, and he stabs her to death with this figurine. What do you guys think of this kill?
It was pretty good. Well, there was something else like happening. Like it was going back and forth between something, wasn't it?
Going back and forth between this. So what happens is when she goes downstairs, carolers start caroling
yes.
outside.
Yes.
So it's juxtaposed to these carolers caroling and her being murdered, which is a very good juxtaposition. So it's a really well done scene.
Yes, I really did like this scene. I it's kind of shocking because she's like having an asthma attack one minute and then the friend helps and she's like, calm down. That was kind of scary. Like, I don't like that. She's a great actress and she really, I like it was like, felt like she was actually having an asthma attack. And
yeah,
then,
Margot Kidder, yeah, she's great.
Yeah. And then, which I think most of the actors in this are really good, but also the chorus, the little choir children who are caroling are so good. I was like really impressed with their performance.
They are, yeah.
Amazing little singers. I was like, I wish they would come caroling around here because that's awesome. I don't know. I like carolers for some reason, but and I also really like the contrast between like when like one of my favorite things in scary movies is when you have like something like really scary and violent going on to like beautiful like something like cheerful music. It's like one of my favorite things.
Or just something violent in general. Like one of the best examples I can think of is in Face Off when there's the big shootout and they put the headphones on the kid and he's listening to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Great stuff.
Love it.
John Woo.
I always like notice those scenes and it's like they stand out and I just love it.
Derek, what are your thoughts on this scene?
Yeah, I think it was one of the best kills in the movie, obviously. I do like the fact, I don't know how you go from you thinking that's a dream, right? Because she had an asthma attack, and maybe that just disoriented her to the point where she thought it might be a dream. But like, I would have gotten up and been like, "Oh, let's search the room just in case." But either way, I do
There's
think
a few
that
instances
having
of
the
that.
asthma attack, yeah, added an element to that scene that was really good. But then, he's right behind the door, and he exacts her revenge, and she regrets the words that she uttered earlier that would be great.
Yeah,
there was a strange scene in her room.
It's really good because that first moment where she has the asthma attack, you think that she's being attacked. So when she comes in, lulls you into a false sense of security for her to shut the door and he's still there. And you have to remember this is 1974, so now we're expecting him to still be in the room, right? But maybe in 1974, the audiences weren't necessarily expecting him to be there. So yeah, it's my favorite scene of the movie. Besides, there's one other one that we'll get to that I really like a lot too. But I really love that scene's the best. Like, I think if they said, what scene should I watch in Black Christmas? I'd say Unicorn Death. Watch that one. Or Santa scene.
Yeah. Or the police scene, the police station scene is pretty funny.
This is where all the stuff has kind of happened simultaneously. Jessica meets with Peter, who tells her that she better not get an abortion or she'll regret it. And he's really aggressive about it. And throughout the rest of this movie, he's hanging around outside the house and stuff. You see him creeping around. The police come to visit to check out the room of Claire's room, and they tap the phone. And so the phone guy comes in, taps the phone. He looks around the house. He asks questions, and he says, "Okay, so if this guy calls, keep him on the line because we're going to need him on the line for a while." So we have quite a few instances throughout the rest of this movie where, and I'm not going to get into every single one beat by beat, but about 2 or 3 times he calls. And each time, he's not on the phone long enough.
Mm.
So the only 2 people left in the house are Phyllis and Jessica. Because Miss Mack is dead upstairs in the attic. And Barb's dead in her bedroom. So Phyllis sees these people creeping outside of her window. And it's these fucking weird, I guess, vigilantes
People with the search,
that were
yeah,
hunting. Search
those
party.
People for the search party, yeah.
Yeah, and this one dude has a shotgun. A really weird beat in the movie. And it's really funny, though, because they're, you know, she says, I think I'd rather face the killer than have to deal with these guys. Because the one dude was real creepy and weird. So the police get a call they get a call, and the police are they're listening in on the call. So Peter calls her and has like a violent confrontation with her over the phone about killing the baby. And they're like, you know, they mention killing the baby. And so they think it's Peter is who's doing this. Our main detective, or Lieutenant Fuller, John Saxon, thinks that Peter's the one doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So he starts following that trail. He goes to the music studio and sees earlier in the movie, we watched Peter after he played for professors. He fucked up a bunch on his piano, and he like destroys the piano, like knocks it over and smashes it. So he goes into the room and sees all this. So he's like, I think this is our guy. Meanwhile, Phyllis goes upstairs to check on Barb and is killed off screen. We have an off screen death with her. Nothing to say there. She's just the door closed. What do you think of that scene? Do you think it was suspenseful?
I liked
I
it,
don't even
actually.
remember.
Because it was just
don't-
like, even though it was off screen and you know she died, but there was just like this dread whenever the door goes to shut after she walks in, like, you know, as well as you can. But I did like it. There was some suspense there, and you felt the dread.
Yeah,
Like
I
building.
didn't hate it either. It just
Also-
was.
Do you feel like she dodged a bullet? Not wanting to marry that guy and have his kid.
Yes, during their conversation, that's one of the things that was brought up. Peter's like, I'm going to quit the conservatory, and we're going to get married. And she's like, basically, I don't want to marry you, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you talking about? And because he just wants to have this baby, she doesn't want to have it. And he's thinking, oh, well, if we get married, then, you know, since you're pregnant, we'll get married. And she's like, this is women's lib, man. No way. You know, this is not my life. She said, I would never tell you to not pursue your dreams for me. So I don't expect you to tell me to quit pursuing mine for you, which is a fair point.
Yeah.
And so she's like, nah, I don't really want to marry you. But actually, she doesn't even say it like that. She just flat out says, I don't want to marry you.
Yeah, she's very upfront about it and honest.
Yeah. Don't take this the wrong way, but you're a psycho, and I don't want to marry you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's weird because you can tell she like cared about him at some point, but then like the more he's acting like a creep, she's like, I don't want to marry you. Like,
yeah, and I think
it's not an option for me right now. Like, none of this is an option for me.
And I think that's another big part about why she doesn't want this baby as well. Not only because it's not what she wants for her life,
Mm-hmm.
but also she doesn't want to be tied to this guy.
Yeah.
Like there's just something off about him. I mean, besides the fact that he's always wearing turtlenecks.
And he's a creep.
He's a turtleneck wearing fool.
Yeah.
Which sometimes the turtleneck rules, but not for that one. If you're Michael Keaton in Batman Returns, turtlenecks are where it's at. Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and James Bond are the only two that make turtlenecks cool. They're the only ones that can pull off the turtleneck. Derek, you want to get a turtleneck for next year?
No,
Oh, I was going to get you one for Christmas.
I'm not that cool, man.
I was going to get you a turtleneck with the Wolfman on it.
In color or black and white?
Dealer's choice, whichever one Derek's feeling that day.
Anyhow.
Anyhow, he says. Anyhow. Yeah, that was a good point that you brought up about him. Yeah.
I'm going to hide a fish in your car one day.
Okay, Walter Matthau.
And you're just going to be like, what is that smell? Where is it coming from?
Chuck, do I stink?
Tell me something, Chuck. Do I stink? Yeah, not you, smartass. Didn't ask you. I could smell it in the car. This stink. Is it me? Yep.
Some grumpy old men for you. Great one. It's a great one. That's one of the all-time best. But so yeah, everybody's dead, but Jessica. She's the only one alive in the house at this point. We skipped a scene. We're kind of jumping around in this one because it's kind of hard to go scene by scene with this one because it's just kind of there's a big portion where nothing really happens. But there's the police station scene, the second police station scene, that I think is really funny, where he gets he's like, I need to call the girl. So John Saxon takes the paper, and that's when he sees that it says fellatio written on it.
Yeah, I referenced this earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you referenced. Yeah,
And the detective is just like losing it.
Yeah, there's the detective that's sitting across, and he's just laughing hysterically. And John Saxon starts cracking. He starts laughing, and he's like, Nash, come here. And basically says, you're an idiot. Like, you can't do anything correctly. You're the worst. And he's like, what? She said that's a new area code. And he's like, new area code? And he's like, it means something sexual, doesn't it?
I know. Something dirty, ain't it?
He figures it out after everybody's laughing at him.
Yeah. And that was before he goes to visit, because when they say, is anybody else in the house when they go to tap the phone and he's walking through the house, he says, well, Barb's asleep upstairs. She drank and fell asleep. She's upstairs. And he's like, is Barb the one that was at the police station today? Yeah. Well, maybe we should just let her sleep. And he starts laughing and goes and leaves. So it's a great little character beat.
Mm.
So anyway, back to where we are in the movie. Jessica gets another phone call, and this time it's just Billy rambling, like he's just ranting and raving, and he's talking for a while about Agnes and about being a good boy and all this stuff, and he just keeps going. And the phone company's able to trace the call. I love him walking through like the big warehouse, where the phone things are, to try to make this trace. It felt, this is really weird, but I mean, it feels super 70s, like it reminds me of in Close Encounters when the power grid's out at the beginning, and we first meet Richard Dreyfuss when he goes to work and he's trying to find out what he needs to do, and like all the power plants out and everything. You see the mechanisms of it. I kind of love that shit. Like I think it's fascinating. It really sets the world. It makes the world a world. Those little things. And there's a great shot of him walking. We see him go through the rows of these phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call them. Stations. I don't know. But he ends up finding out which one it is, and that it's coming from the same house, but that different phone line. So they're like, "Oh, he's got another call," And John Saxon goes to the car, and they have a policeman stationed.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Did this movie come out before or after When a Stranger Calls?
Before.
Okay.
I do believe.
They came out around the same time, didn't they? Or am I wrong?
Stranger Calls came out a year after Halloween, 1979.
They're kind of based on a similar legend.
Urban legend, yeah. Urban legend of somebody calling in the house. So that's
By
when
the way, back in the day, when that was possible, I mean, I guess you could do it now. It would be somebody else's cell phone.
Yeah, it'd be a cell phone.
That would have to be the scariest thing.
Oh, yeah. That would be very terrifying. Now it's like the call's coming from beside you. Yeah, he's on the phone. I see him. Yeah, it would be much scarier.
And their approach, get her because it was like, I want you to call her. I don't want you to tell her anything. I just want you to tell her to get out of the house.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing you could do. Well, let me rephrase that. For a normal person, you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to leave. Like, they should have been like, hey, we need you to go outside and check on this thing and stay there. There's a police officer going to be there in just a minute, but once we go outside and wait for him.
Yeah,
Something
and
like
that's kind of what he wants him to do, is just, hey, tell her to put the phone down and go outside. Don't tell her anything else. We don't want to scare her. We don't want her to put herself at risk. Just go outside. Hang the phone up. There's an officer outside that is dead. I don't know when that happened, but he's dead. I don't know when that possibly could have happened. Billy's been chilling in the attic, right? Unless it really was, maybe that was Peter. Kills him.
Maybe.
But
that would make more sense.
So he's dead. So he, like you said, Derek, they tell her to get out of the house, and she's like asking questions. So our officer Nash says, "The call is from inside the house. The killer's in the house. Go." And so she's like, Phil, Barb. She grabs a fire poker, which, by the way, I've got to get into this real fast. There's a shit ton of zooms in this because it's 1974. But it is still less egregious than Amityville. There's somehow still less zooms than in Amityville. But she grabs the fire poker, goes upstairs, and is attacked by Billy. We never see Billy's face. We see his eye. There's a really great shot of the door creaked open and his eye, and he's like, "Hey, it's Billy. It's me, it's Billy." And he tries to attack her. She slams the door on him. He grabs her hair. They fight for a second. She escapes, runs into the basement, and locks herself in. At this point, we see a figure outside the window. Before we get to the basement part, what do you guys think of Billy's the scene where she sees Billy?
Billy's eyeball?
Billy's eyeball.
It confused me.
It did?
Was his eye red?
No, it was a reflection.
Okay, because I was immediately like, this guy is possessed. This house is haunted. Like, I took it to like a whole nother. I mean, I feel like you could easily take this as like the house itself is haunted because it's not who you think it is. So maybe it's something else. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so no, it was just that was a reflection. I like the scene. It's less impactful and scary as what Halloween does 4 years later with the final girl chase. Obviously, that sets the standard in motion for what a final girl chase is. It treks through the whole house, across the street into another house, upstairs into the closet. It's just a big production. Whereas this is just he grabs her a few times and she goes downstairs. When she's locked in the basement, we see a figure outside the window, and we realize that it's good old Peter. And he kicks in the window, and at this point, she thinks that Peter is the killer. She's convinced of this because the baby talk and all the stuff like that, and the fact that he told her, "I will kill you," or not in so many words, but basically, "You'll be sorry if you abort this baby." All that stuff. So,
and the killer references something that he just said to her.
Yeah, which was cutting it out like a wart,
like
cutting off a wart. So she thinks for sure it's him. So he goes down into the basement. She's cornered. He's like, "What are you doing down here? I was worried about you." And we cut, and the police arrive outside, and they hear her scream. So they run in, they knock down the basement door, and it's kind of confusing. We open the door, and Peter is laying across her lap, and she's like passed out, and he's dead. Looks like from blows, probably from the fire poker, but he's dead. What do you guys think of this bit?
It's cheap. It's cheap. It was it feels like a cop out. I get the red herring that they're like playing, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
he's dead," and the threat is gone, and that's one of the reasons why they just randomly leave her unconscious.
Yeah,
in
we'll
the
get to
house.
that ending here in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, but it feels really just they shorthanded the ending.
A little rushed.
I mean, yep.
So I was like, okay, so he's the killer, right? I was like, okay, and then I was like, are they both dead? No, just him. He's dead. She's passed out. Okay, cool, good. Like, you're like rooting for her. You're like, that guy is a creep. And I was like, I was nervous with him coming at her like that, even. Like,
yeah.
From maybe it's like the woman's standpoint, but like when a creep, especially when someone you're like, when you're someone you don't trust, that is a man that is walking towards you like that, and you're cornered, it is scary. And it's like, I if I was her, I'm like, get him, like, don't hesitate, because that's how you get killed. Like, that's how women get killed, is when they hesitate, because they're taught to be polite and taught to, like,
and also be submissive.
Yes. And it's like, if you just, do what they tell you, you'll be okay. And that's how you get killed, because you're being submissive and trying to, hope the problem goes away. But she takes action, and I do not blame her for 1 second for doing that.
So how does she kill him? Does she beat him to death?
Well,
does she stab him with the fire poker?
We don't know.
Why does she lay him down on her lap?
Do you think Billy killed him and knocked her out?
I think it's very possible that Billy killed him.
I didn't think about that.
I mean, I think it's possible. You're muted, by the way.
That's what I had assumed, that he killed her.
Yeah,
he killed him.
because there's a line where they said, where the doctor, the next scene says, I couldn't imagine him being a killer, but I definitely also couldn't imagine her killing him. Couldn't imagine her doing that regardless of the situation. So I guess it's kind of open to interpretation. Yeah, like, so we just don't know. We just know that she's barely there, barely conscious, and that he's dead on her lap. So this ending, you guys. So we get the wrap up. It's almost like a Scooby-Doo episode, the wrap up, or like the end of a Law and Order episode or something like that. Like a procedural from the 70s, an episode of Simon and Simon, I guess, where they're like, well, I knew it was that kid. I knew it in my gut. The boyfriend's like, Claire's boyfriend's like, well, we need to. You want me to get a hold of this guy? He was Phil's boyfriend. Yeah, I'll get a hold of him. And just kind of matter-of-factly wrapping it up, the doctor's like, hey, I gave her this medicine. She's passed out. She's going to be unconscious for like 4 hours. I'm going to stay here with her while she's passed out. And then yeah, and he's like, so that way I'll stay here till her parents get in, but she's not going to be good for a while. And then it's like, the press is here, let's get him out. And the dad, Claire's dad, passes out, like faints, which at the time I thought it was because he lost his daughter, but that's not the reason. They just don't know where the daughter is still, because he passes out. The doctor says, hey, help me get him up. We need to get him to a hospital. And just leaves the unconscious woman that you just put to sleep. Just leaves her in bed. They leave an officer outside the house, though. There's an officer outside the house. And then we track. There's this beautiful shot where we see the blood stain bed. We track around, and we go up to the attic. And we see a little light. And that's when we hear Billy talking to Miss Mac and Claire. He's talking to him still, talking about being Billy and whatever. Then we pull out and we get a wide shot of the house, and we hear the phone ring. The phone start ringing, and then we end. What do you guys think of this ending? Start with you, Lydia.
Well, I don't like that there's so many things unanswered. And I don't say that to a lot of movies who attempt that kind of thing, where it's like, I'm usually pretty okay with it, but this one kind of just felt wrong. Like, it just felt like we should have known a little bit more of what was going on. What happened? We don't even know what happened. We don't know what happened. We don't know why or how or who. Like, it was such a weird ending to me. I don't know. I do, like, I think it was shot well and I think it was acted well, but I don't think it, like, delivered anything for me of like what a normal horror movie would offer.
What do you think, Derek?
So it all is fine and dandy until they all leave, and then really there's just that brief period where you kind of get like, oh yeah, they just randomly left. So that part is really confusing, and it kind of takes you out of the moment. But the actual like ending of it, I don't have an issue with. I think it's kind of interesting, and the fact that he's still there. And he still has his candle lit for her, and he's talking to himself. And so you are now confirming that the other guy was not the killer. He's still there, and she's in danger. And so then you're left to your own conclusion what happens next. So I liked it. It was okay.
Yeah. So Here's how I feel about the ending. I agree with you pretty much, exclusively, Derek. But here's my take on it is I like the actual ending itself. I like the fact that we find out that, oh, guess what? Who we thought was the killer is not the killer. And that killer is still out there. Not only is the killer still out there, but the killer's still in the house. It's very good stuff, powerful. And I love the last shot of the wide shot of the house, and we hear the phone ringing. I think it's great. Great ending. Great ending.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is from a logic standpoint. And that is, why didn't the police search this entire house?
Yeah.
How would they not search the house? Sure, you think you found the killer, but wouldn't you search the house, especially when you find 2 dead bodies and you know that there are 2 people missing? Wouldn't you have searched the entire house? Also, there's just no way that they would leave this woman in her bed and not take her to the hospital. There's just no way. There's no way. She would 100% have been... Can you imagine if at the end of Halloween, instead of taking Laurie Strode to the hospital so we could go through Halloween 2, they were just like, let's just leave her at the house.
She's fine. She'll be okay.
Yeah, she's all right.
Yeah.
We'll send somebody later to check on her.
I mean, think about it.
She
they
needs
went
to
and
sleep
searched
for 4 hours.
They went and searched both houses across the street from each other to see what was going on in that movie. This one, they're like, let's not even search the whole house, so we're fine. So I have a problem with that horrible lapse in logic. That bugs me. But the ending itself, I think, is great and powerful and scary and almost a perfect horror movie ending. Like, I like that we don't know who Billy is. I like that we don't know why Billy's doing what he's doing. I like that mystery.
That's totally schizo, man.
Huh?
I said I think he has schizophrenia.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I just
My
like
non-clinical diagnosis.
Yeah,
I think he has jaundice.
John.
he wasn't
I
quite
think
yellow.
he stubbed his toe on Wednesday, and
Did
he
you
just
guys-
fed him.
Did you guys see the remake?
Yes, I did see the remake. Yeah, we'll do it.
Not the new one, not the college one,
No,
or not the new. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, we won't. We'll talk about those movies eventually too. We'll get into those because there's some interesting stuff to say about those. There's some other Christmas horror movies that we'll get into eventually as well. But so yeah, then the movie ends. So that's Black Christmas, guys. What are your guys' thoughts? Let's start with you, Lydia. What are your thoughts on Black Christmas? And what would you rate it?
I think I've pretty much explained how I feel about it. I think it was well acted. It was directed fine. It was just lacking in some answers for me, and it was kind of confusing. I don't know. It's not my favorite. I kind of and part of me, like, maybe I just like a good ghost story, but like part of me kind of wishes that was the answer to this, is like because I don't know, maybe it's because Margot's in this and she was in Amityville, and it's like, what if like it was like this demonic presence that is like part of the house or part of the land, and like that's why nobody can find any answers to anything, and they're like, this guy is just kind of a creep who happens to be there, kind of fits the but then like at the end it's like unresolved because it can't be resolved by the police because they're way out of their league on this, right?
It can't be resolved by the police because they're incompetent and terrible, apparently.
That too.
That's
too.
the reason.
But I just like a good ghost story, so.
Yeah, that's not this movie.
I want that one. I'm gonna I don't know. I'm gonna rate this one. I'm gonna give this one a 4.
Ooh, okay.
That's how I feel.
Derek, what are your thoughts on this movie? What would you rate it?
I think this movie had a lot of interesting components to it, pieces, right? It's kind of like a puzzle that's missing, some sections because some of it's chaotic and it's confusing.
Mm.
I don't think the end is necessarily confusing. I like how vague it is and open to interpretation, while also telling you that this is the direction that it's going to go as well. But some of the acting was pretty good. I thought that there were some sections that weren't great. There's a dialogue scene between the pianist and his girlfriend where it was so scripted. She says something to her and it just it didn't feel natural. It felt awkward. But yeah, it has some really good elements. It's got some good humor in it. I like that. It does have some strong points, but overall, I don't know why this movie is necessarily a classic. Maybe just because of the date that it came out. Yeah,
it's the first.
But I was not necessarily impressed by it. Although I was going to rate it higher than Lydia.
Yeah, definitely. What are you going to rate it?
I was going to rate it a 6, and then she said that. Now I got to rate it a 3.
No, you don't. What are you talking about? Why would you do that? Rate it what you were going to rate it.
No,
you don't have to rate it lower than her.
Like, oh, this is terrible. And I'm like, I think you're right.
You don't have to rate it lower than her just to beat her. What are you talking about? If you think it's a 6,
I give this movie a 6. I give it a 6.
I was trying to remember what I rated Amityville. Because
you rated it the same.
A 4.
Around a 4. Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think this movie is better than Amityville, but I kind of wish they were combined. I want to see a mashup.
So, I think there's definitely some problems with this movie. I think there's some pacing issues. It's a little slow in parts. But it's definitely less slow than Amityville. That's for sure. I mean, Amityville, we could probably dub the Amityville bore if we wanted to. It's just nothing happens.
Or the Amityville freeze frame.
Yeah. The Amityville zoom.
Yeah.
But this movie, even though it has the flaws and there's the logic flaws they talk about, there's a lot of style to it that I like. I like the way the suspense works. I like some of the shots. Some of the shots are not great, but some of them are also fantastic. And there's some good showstopper kills. The first kill is decent. The unicorn kill is a showstopper. It's great stuff. So I'm going to rate this movie a 7. 7 out of 10. I was originally going to rate it a little lower before we started talking about it. Then, I was going to rate it like a 6, like Derek. Then as we started talking through it and talking about the things, I was like, you know what? Yeah.
That's exactly what happened to me.
No, yours, you were still good.
Better.
We made it sound good, and it's good. I think it is. I think it's solid. Yeah. I mean, it has a reputation.
Maybe I'll make it a 3. I don't know.
You're not going to make it a 3. You already said a 6.
Next time I'm going to write it down on a card before.
Yes. I think I just had a bad first experience because just watching it today for the first time, I was kind of in a different mindset, and sometimes movies hit you different when you're in different mindsets, and
absolutely.
That could have totally affected the way I rated it or the way
I
enjoyed it, I guess.
Listen, if you feel
I think you're having the Tom Atkins effect. Dun, dun, dun. That's a segue into our
we'll get into that.
But
we'll get into that. But no,
you did the same thing with Tom Atkins. You're like, maybe he is hot.
Is he attractive?
Is this movie good? Maybe.
So I like when we discuss a movie and as we're in the middle of discussing it, I not necessarily change my opinion because I have my opinion, but other points are made, and it makes me reevaluate it,
Mm-hmm.
and I like that. So this movie, I came in feeling, this is about a 6. It's a good, solid proto slasher, that kind of started the genre off before Halloween strapped a rocket to its back and shot it to the moon. So it's like, I mean, that's kind of where we went, baby steps, then to the moon, and then everybody else kind of did the Friday the 13th thing. But so I was I was like, yeah, 6. But then the more we discussed it, and even the scenes that I didn't like, when I was discussing the stuff that I did like, I was like, you know what? I think there's a lot more stuff I liked than I didn't. And so that's why I rated it what I did. Is because, I mean, we had the opposite effect happen with Amityville when we were talking about it, and I was like, it's this. Then as we talked about it, I was like, no, you know what? This sucks. It's just
Right,
not that
yeah.
good. It's
Yeah.
just not that good.
Which is crazy.
yeah.
I think I totally just lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had
So-
something.
But yes, Derek, you are correct. It is time to Atkinize Black Christmas. Who would Tom Atkins play? There's really only one character he can play, and I feel bad that we have to replace him.
Cop.
He has to play the John Saxon role.
Yeah.
You know what? I'd make him play the pianist.
I actually think that Tom Atkins would kill in the John Saxon role.
Yeah, I think so too.
He would. He would.
Yeah.
I agree with your
It's the obvious
assessment.
role.
The obvious one, right?
Yeah. He'd have a trench
He would-
coat on,
Billy.
probably.
Yep. He would
It
walk
might be
in.
Tom. It might not be Tom. Who knows?
He would walk in, and they're like, "We have to, like, Lieutenant." He'd walk in and say, "Thrill me. We have some missing goods." Perfect. So that's Black Christmas, gang. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed our not really Christmas themed Christmas episode. Lydia has some Christmas trees behind her. Look at that. A little Christmas tree. What's on the agenda next week? I don't think Derek has Santa Claus behind him. I have
Yes,
Michael
Santa.
Claus right there.
Nickel Claus.
We did not pick next week's episode, and it is whose pick?
Uh-oh.
I think you picked next,
I have
Lydia.
Jamie. It is your pick.
It's my pick?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, shit, son. Oh, shit, son.
I got 99
Okay.
problems and you ain't one.
Okay, guys. This new episode will air after New Year's, right? So
This one?
next week's episode.
Oh, okay.
The one I'm picking. So I'm going to give you guys some choices. Do we want to do a New Year's themed one? Or do we want to start the year off strong with a horror movie?
Leprechaun.
No. What do you want to do?
Strong.
Not a New Year's themed one? We'll do New Year's theme next year?
Yeah, I'm sick of
Okay.
the themes. We got Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas, New Year's.
Yeah.
That's too many themes. Shut that up.
So, guys, we're going to start the year off with a bang because next week's episode is Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm,
Woo!
I think you're
Very
gonna
nice.
I
What?
think you're gonna cause me to have it first.
So,
And
I
is
don't
that-
know.
Is that going to start the new season?
That will start season 2. Season 2 will
Season
start.
2.
Season 2 will start New Year's next week. So this was our season 1 finale. Season 2, and we don't take a break. We just every week you're going to get a new episode. But that's how we're breaking it up. So next week is the season 2 premiere of Scream Bloody Movies with Wes Craven's 1984 immortal classic, Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know where that's streaming. Oh, I do. It's on HBO Max. It's on HBO Max. So if you have HBO Max, watch it there. If you're like me, you own that bad boy, which I do. So be sure to watch that. Follow us on social media at on Facebook at Hyla Productions, on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies, online at hylaproductions.com. Follow me on Twitter at Racket. Follow Derek on Twitter at DDogLeeMaster on Twitter. Anything else you can think?
Get your merch at
Your merch.
society6.com/nightskycrafts.
Night Sky Crafts. And we will have a movie announcement coming up in 2 weeks. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Anything I'm forgetting, Derek?
Nope, I think we covered it all.
Okay, good. Well, if, in that case, for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster, I am Jamie Hiles. And remember, folks, if you're going to scream bloody movies.
Bloody movies.
Whoa.
Wow.
That was really bad.
Jamie,
Yeah.
we're like synchronized. We're like one.
I don't think so. Maybe next season we will get it. So stay tuned for next week's Nightmare on Elm Street. See you, folks.